and there's a lot of information on the internet, and there's also a lot of misinformation on the internet. I'm not going to be telling people that follow me to pay £25 for a tub of something to flavour their water. The marketing for greens really pisses me off. My entire being doesn't revolve around how flat my stomach looks. Hi guys, welcome back to another video. It's been a hot minute since I have done like a little fitness Q&A kind of video, so that's what I'm going to be doing today. Don't mind my voice because I have been poorly, which is why this video is a little bit delayed. It was going to go up last week, but I'm going to pull up the questions on my phone. The reason why I'm doing this is because one, I've not done one in like probably about 6 months, but also I do Q&As on Instagram all the time. If you're not already following me, go and follow me because I do them all the time on there. It can get quite difficult to actually give like meaningful kind of responses to questions on there, just because, you know, there isn't really all of the space to say everything that I want to say. First question is how to motivate yourself in December. I'm finding it so hard. Motivation is definitely fleeting, and motivation to me is just not something that you should really be relying on to get you to go and do shit. Now, with this being like a fitness Q&A box, I'm going to assume this is about like getting yourself to the gym and stuff. The single best thing that helps me in winter, and this is something that I started paying attention to when I was at uni because I watched a TED talk. I believe it was Mel Robbins, and it's something to do with like the 5-second rule, the 3-second rule, something like that. Basically, the premise of this is apparently it takes your brain about 5 seconds to talk you out of doing something. So let's say you're an early morning trainer, which I definitely was when I was at uni, but I've always found this time of year when it's colder and it's darker a lot harder to kind of stick to things, and to kind of get myself out of bed is a lot harder than it is during the summer. So I watched this TED talk and she's basically saying, yeah, it takes your brain about 5 seconds to talk you out of doing something. So for example, if you find that you always snooze your alarm for the gym and you don't just get up and go, start as soon as your alarm goes off, stand up out of bed. Stand up out of bed, go and brush your teeth, do that number one, because as soon as you've gotten up and got moving, you'll know this if you've needed like a piss in the middle of the night and you've got up out of bed. Sometimes when you get back into bed, it can be really hard to get back to sleep. So just standing up, this 5-second rule genuinely changed my life, especially when it comes to the colder months. Obviously we're in December at the moment, and it is harder to get up. Obviously not everyone trains on a morning, so that's not going to be relevant for everyone. What I always say to clients, and I could actually do like a whole video on this if you're interested, is building habits and a routine will serve you far better in your fitness journey than relying on motivation. Motivation is a very fleeting feeling. It's not something that you should be relying on. I don't rely on it. I cannot remember the last time I felt genuinely like motivated to go and train. I don't really get motivated. It's just because it's such a habit and a routine of mine that even in those periods where I'm maybe not feeling as energized about life, I can still go and get shit done because I have those habits and I have those routines. Now, if people want a whole video on like behavior change, how it works, habits, routines, how to build habits and routines, then let me know because I can definitely do that. But the Mel Robbins 5-second rule, I think for getting shit done when you really can't be arsed, is a really good place to start, because once you start, that momentum of just starting something, you'll know it with anything. Like if you're a student, I know when I was at uni, I'd put off doing my assignments, doing my essays, and then as soon as I started, it's like I was on a roll. So that getting that momentum and just getting started with something is going to help a lot. And that Mel Robbins TED talk helped me so much. I think it was a TED talk. I'll leave it linked below if I can find it. Okay, question number 2. I really am not happy with my body fat percentage, but I also really want to grow muscle, cut or bulk. This is a really, well, based off what you've said here and the context given, this is a really easy answer for me. Whenever I get a client who comes to me for coaching who has muscle growth goals, but they also have like quite a bit of body fat that they want to lose, I always recommend that we lose the body fat first. So I would recommend that you go with a small deficit first and lose the body fat, so cut first, and then go into like maintenance or like a small surplus to focus on your growth. Just because if you're not all, and this is something that I really try and be like transparent about, if you are not happy with your body fat percentage at the starting point of a bulk, bearing in mind it's very mentally taxing anyway, it can be really, really difficult seeing your body fat percentage go up during even the leanest of bulks. You are going to gain fat. It's not like this social media thing where you can put on all the mass on the ass and you'll never gain an ounce of fat. That's like god tier genetic. You are going to gain body fat, and it's going to be mentally difficult, and it's going to be even harder for you to do that and to commit to this growth phase properly, which you need to commit a good amount of time to, like a good amount of months, not weeks, we're talking months. And it's going to be very hard for you to commit to that if you're not happy with your body fat percentage at the start of it, because it just makes it so much harder. So I would always say to try and get your body fat percentage down to a point that you are comfortable with, or at least happier with, and then go ahead and try going into a growth phase. Doing it the other way around, I've tried it with people before when they've been like, no, this is really what I want to do, and we try it, and about a few weeks into the bulk they're like, oh, I actually feel really uncomfortable, can we diet first? So take it from me, with a little bit of experience working with people, do the cut first. Advice for balancing a workout, in brackets push pull etc, with compounds, accessories, reps, drop sets etc. Basically when to do what and how much. Lol, the jargon can be a lot. The jargon can be a lot, and there's a lot of information on the internet, and there's also a lot of misinformation on the internet. However, this question is so meaty, I could do a whole video, and I have actually done whole videos on how to structure workouts, so I'm going to leave those linked down below. Drop sets, that's just a training system. You don't have to do drop sets, it's just a training system that you can throw in. I mean, I wouldn't recommend that you're doing drop sets on every single day of the week or on every single movement. It's very taxing. Doing a drop set properly, which was a humbling experience, which I learned on my PT course. I thought I knew how to do a drop set. No. Kevin humbled me. With a drop set, you are going to failure on every set before you drop that weight. If you haven't reached failure, you're not dropping that weight yet. It's a very taxing thing to do, so I wouldn't recommend doing things like that every single day or multiple times in a session. It can be very, very, very intense. Compounds first, as always, in terms of your structure of your workout. Compounds first, then accessories. It depends how many times you're training a week, how many movements you're going to put in a session. So again, that's a really difficult question to answer. But to the girl who asked me this question, just DM me on Instagram and tell me what you're currently doing, and I'll try and help you a bit more, because that question is very hard to give a succinct answer to. It's quite difficult. Hi Angel. Hi. Any tips for targeting more glutes in the RDLs? I feel like this tip has been done to death, but it is very, very true. A slight more bend in the knee when you're hip hinging. Now this isn't like a full-blown squat, it just means bend your knees ever so slightly more. And also something that I know from myself and from working with clients and doing form checks and stuff, it's very what's the right word? It's very common for people to exceed their range of motion in an RDL, because they think the deeper you get, the more range of motion, the better. But if you exceed your range of motion, you'll notice that your hips aren't moving any further back, and you're just bending forwards now. Your hips aren't coming any further back, so you're not getting any more glute range or glute engagement in that portion of the movement, because you've already exceeded that range of motion. You're just now bending forward at the hip, and then you're bringing your lower back into it. So that would be another tip. Make sure that you push your hips back as far as they can go, and then you come back up. You don't need to go down any further than that. Even if the bar is like just below the knee, that is completely fine. That's normally kind of how it works for me. So yeah, those would be my main tips for that. How to build my damn squat, being stuck on the same weight for ages, can't seem to progress. Girl, same. My body is just not best built for squatting. It doesn't really work. but there are ways around it. It's quite common, I've spoken about this on a TikTok recently, I think it was TikTok. It's quite common as girls, you know, we typically get into the gym with like a super hip thrust focus, kind of glute focus. We want to grow our glutes, so we'll really focus on our hip thrusts, and we'll get super strong on them because we're doing them like 3 times a week in different, you know, rep ranges, different variations, working on like pulses at the top, working on like, you know, calves bridges, and then the other day doing full-blown hip thrusts. And we'll do them like 3 times a week. A lot of girls will hip thrust 3 times a week, but we would never consider doing some kind of squat builder or some kind of way to work on your squat technique 3 times a week. I'm not saying you have to do it 3 times a week, but if you are only squatting once a week at the moment and you've either identified that, you know, for example, it could be that you get stuck in the hole and you can't get back up and your strength and power just isn't there at the bottom of the squat. So you could try incorporating things like pause squats another day in the week, or you could do box squats to work on this, but try including I'm assuming we'll talk about back squats here, 2 kind of back squat variations a week. So maybe one day you'll be focusing purely on like your strength and trying to get it up, and then the other day you might be doing something to work on helping your technique. So you might be doing super slow tempo squats or pause squats or box squats, but they're all going to help to build up the movement, but please don't feel any kind of way about that, because I'm the exact same. Like, I'm a hypocrite. My squat is something that I really want to work on, yet I will do it once a week, and I know from my years of training that that is not enough for me to be progressing on my squat. But then it's like, I don't want to sacrifice other things in the week because volume wise I'm gonna have to sacrifice somewhere. So it's kind of like a trade-off thing. But if a squat is something that you are really wanting to focus on and increase, and you've just hit like a complete plateau with it, if you're not already doing it more than once a week, do it more than once a week. Another question is, what supplements do you take? So the supplements that I take is protein powder if I need it that day. I've not taken protein powder in like 2 weeks now because I've just not been needing it. I've been getting more than enough protein from my diet, so I've not been taking any protein really recently, but protein is something that I will take. And creatine. Creatine is something that I take every single day, 3 to 5 grams a day. I normally just take mine before bed. You don't have to take it pre-workout. It's not a pre-workout. It doesn't really matter too much when you take it, as long as you're taking it every single day. And they are the only supplements that I use, and they're the only supplements that I really recommend. I do get asked sometimes on Instagram why I don't work with a supplement brand, and this isn't me saying I never will, because maybe at some point I will. But for me, like the offers that I've been given from certain supplement brands, like in the contracts, you really do have to push supplements, which makes sense because that's the product they're selling and that's what they want you to sell. I personally wouldn't want to work with a brand unless they gave me more like freedom with the contract when it comes to supplements, because I know a lot of my audience are like beginners or just getting into the gym and they don't need supplements pushing on them. So I don't want to be sat there saying, oh, you need this and you need that and you need this. It's just a bit much. And even for like, you know, someone a bit more advanced, you don't need supplements. They're not like a must. They're not something that you have to have. So yeah, if anyone else on here was wondering that, that's the reason why the contracts are normally quite, you have to be quite pushy with the supplements, and you have to push like a range of products. You know, there's things like BCAAs that people really like you to push, and I'm just not going to push something which for 99% of people is completely pointless. I know some people that work with supplement brands will say like, oh, I take BCAAs and they're, you know, they're a really nice water flavour. I'm not going to be telling people that follow me to pay £25 for a tub of something to flavour their water when they can go to like Morrison's and get a Robinson's squeezy for like £1. I'm just not comfortable doing that. There is one other supplement that I do have, which I've also been asked about, so I'm kind of gonna merge these questions together. Do greens work? Now, I do own greens. I don't take them every single day. I take them on days where my micronutrients are just not looking good. It's not looking good, Brev. You know, I've forgotten to put micronutrient dense foods in my diet, basically. Now that's not that often, but sometimes that does happen, and I will take greens as a way to supplement with that. Now, greens can never, just in my opinion, my thoughts about food, greens can never replace actually eating veg and fruit. I just don't think, you know, that should be the case. Any like doctor will tell you multivitamins, great, but ideally you want to be trying to get those vitamins from your diet, from your food. Just the way our bodies work, that's the better way to go about it. However, life's not perfect, and some days, do you know what, actually the greens that I have are from Protein Works, and it's like a tropical flavour, and they actually taste nice. They don't taste like ass, so I don't mind drinking them, and I will have them on days where my veggies are a little bit on the lower side. Also in greens, obviously it depends which ones you get. It's quite common for there to be things in there that you wouldn't probably find like in the supermarket, and they probably have micronutrients that are a bit more diverse sometimes. So sometimes greens are good, obviously it depends on the ingredient list. In terms of the question of do greens work, the answer is how long is a piece of string? Because it's such a hard question to answer, because it depends what context this person has asked me this question in. You know, if they're asking, do greens work in the way that they're being marketed? In my opinion, no. And the greens marketing, I'm just gonna talk really frankly here. The marketing for greens really pisses me off. Bailey spoke about this on her Instagram story the other day, and I completely agreed with what she said. The marketing around, they're not like an inherently bad supplement, but the marketing around them, I cannot stand it. So first of all, you've got like gut health TikTok telling you that this is going to cure your gut health. Now, what could be giving someone gut issues is very, very, very individual. Greens are full of fibre, and for some people, having that extra fibre in their diet is going to fuck up their gut health even more. So parading these around as like this gut health holy whatever that's going to completely cure you and rid you of all your gut health problems is so inaccurate, because what gut health problems do you have? Yes, if you have gut health problems where you need a bit more fibre and you need the things that are in this supplement, it could help you. I'm not negating that, but parading it around as like this gut health cure is a bit stupid to me. And I'm not such a difficult topic to navigate around, because most people don't have the money to be, you know, putting themselves through all the tests and reaching out for, you will often, if you're having really bad gut problems, need to go private. In the UK in particular, gut health and like all that sort of stuff, it tends to be something people would get more private help for. Now that's expensive and people do not have the funds for that, so feel like a bit of a cunt sat here being like, you need to seek professional help if you've got gut health issues, because I know how hard it is and how expensive it can be. But if you have the means to do so and you have genuine issues with your gut or genuine concerns around your gut health, please seek professional help rather than just blindly buying these greens because everyone's telling you that they're gonna cure your gut issues. Because gut issues, like I've said, it's so specific to the individual, your current diet, your current lifestyle, and greens could really help one person and really fuck up another person. So I also really hate that everything to do with greens is to do with like having a flat stomach and getting rid of bloating, because I spoke about this on Instagram recently, but a lot of the like bloating content that I see around greens just to me looks like someone with a full stomach at the end of the day. That's not bloating, that's a full stomach, and that's something that you're never going to get rid of unless you just don't eat through the day. And even then, like, I get bloated when I don't eat, so that wouldn't really work. I do actually get genuinely bloated when I don't eat. You know, bloating is a sign, like, it's hard, it's painful, it's really uncomfortable, you can't suck it in. That's a sign that you've actually probably eaten something that's irritated you, or there's something going on, you might be super stressed. All that sort of stuff can impact bloating, but bloating and like a full stomach at the end of the day are often, in my opinion, two things that get very confused and mixed up. And like the whole marketing around greens about like, oh, it helps with your bloating and your gut health and flat stomach, yay. And I just think we're selling people a dream, because, you know, unless you like got really, really, really good genetics, your stomach's not really gonna stay flat all day. Mine doesn't stay flat all day. Mine is flat like on a morning, That's it. As soon as I like sip water, drink coffee, eat food, my stomach doesn't look flat anymore. But that's fine because I'm a living, breathing, eating, functioning organism. My entire being doesn't revolve around how flat my stomach looks. So yeah, to answer the question of do greens work, in the way that they're being currently marketed by most people, no. It really depends whether they're going to work for you or not. Like I said, ideally, you want to be seeking like a professional opinion on this. Someone else has said thoughts on Pilates. I don't have an issue with Pilates. I do find it kind of funny that people who have been lifting for like, you know, 5-6 years and have built a shit ton of muscle mass and have now started going to Pilates and in conjunction eating in a calorie deficit, and now saying that all their progress is from Pilates, because it's not. You've just lost a bit of body fat and lost a bit of size and revealed the muscle that you've been building in the gym under heavy resistance for the past 5-6 years. I'm not saying Pilates doesn't work. It definitely does work. Like, you are basically resistance training. It is a form of resistance training. It depends on what your goals are. I have no issues with people doing Pilates. I actually want to try it because apparently it's very humbling and I love to humble myself. So I actually want to try it, and I probably will try it in the new year. If people want me to like vlog the experience, let me know, because I don't mind, but I don't have an issue with it. I do think there's some quite interesting topics around Pilates coming in and like long, lean bodies coming back in. But that's a whole video in itself. Okay, one more question because it's 10:30 and I need to go to therapy at 11 AM. So feel like I'm not progressing with growth. I've been bulking for 3 months now. This is a good question to end on. It's a good question to end on. I explain this to people all the time, and full disclaimer here, I am part of the problem, because I will get clients with very good genetics who achieve insane progress within 3 months, and then I'll post it because I'm so proud of them and they look amazing and I want to share their progress with people. And that's not the reality for the majority. You know, having an insane growth thing in 3 months is really not the reality. Newbies, sometimes yes, but also take that with a pinch of salt, because there still will be newbies who are like super hard gainers, and even though they've got the, you know, the newbie gains on their side, it's going to be really, really hard for them to grow. So it's going to take 3 months, longer than 3 months even for some newbies. So, you know, if you're newer to the gym, you're going to get a much quicker, generally speaking, bit of growth and some progress. The longer you've been training, obviously I don't have any context on how long you have been training, so I don't know. The longer you've been training, the harder it gets. You know, the longer it's going to take for you to see a big difference in growth, because you're getting closer to that like genetic potential. You're getting closer to the amount of muscle that you can naturally build, and you know, that's when people might start using PEDs. I'm not promoting doing that. I don't use them. I never will use them, but that is a reality of people on social media. So when you see these massive influencers still making insane progress in such short periods of time, and they've been lifting for years, it might be a sign that something's awry, or they've got a little bit of help, if you know what I'm saying. So yeah, just to set the context on progress, it's not the majority who get these insane 3-month transformations. Algorithms favour huge transformations in short spaces of time, because it's like, wow, shocking, amazing. So that kind of content, those TikToks will get pushed out more, those Instagram posts will get pushed out more. Influencers who have these insane transformations in short periods of time, again, the genetic like 1-2%, so they get pushed out. But because this is all we see, because it gets pushed out more, we think that's the reality for most people. I can tell you from coaching girls, it's not the reality for most people. And for most people, you're looking at a very long time, longer than 3 months, to see like significant growth, especially if you've been lifting for a long time. So to feel like you're not progressing with growth 3 months in, you know, provided you know your nutrition's on point, your protein is there, you're training hard, you're progressively overloading, you are recovering, properly between your sessions, you're taking rest days, you're looking after your body, you know, progressing in the gym, like I said, if you're doing all that, you will be making progress. How long it's going to take is going to depend on the person. Some people can have super fast transformations, and some people just don't have the genetics for muscle growth. Like for me personally, I do not have good genetics for muscle growth. The genetic that I have helped me to get the body that I do have, but I don't have super speedy genetics for muscle growth. I'm not like this genetic god when it comes to muscle growth. So I really do sympathize with, you know, people who don't get these super fast transformations, because I certainly do not get super fast transformations with myself ever. So on average, I've said this so many times on my channel, it's women can gain up to, and the key here is up to, a pound of muscle a month. Now, if we're looking at 3 months, that's up to 3 pounds of muscle gained in 3 months. That might not be, you know, some people will be genetic outliers and they'll gain much more, but that's highly likely probably not going to look, you know, significantly different. I always say to people 6 months minimum for a bulking phase. This doesn't mean that you can't do like mini cuts between, or if you could even do like a bulk technically for a year, just with like every like 3 months maybe do like a little mini cut just to keep you comfortable, because bulking is really mentally difficult, and I'd never suggest anyone do it for a whole year unless you're super mentally strong, because it can be really, really difficult. You know, taking that, you know, up to a pound of muscle a month into context, it's no wonder that you might not have seen like an insane amount of growth within 3 months. You've got to be patient with these things. I was listening to a podcast the other day that said it takes the average lifter 10 years of properly training to reach an amount of muscle mass that they are happy with. So do not be beating yourself up 3 months in for not being where you want to be yet, because it's highly likely that you're not going to be where you want to be yet. It takes a lot of people 10 years to put on an amount of muscle that they're happy with. So don't be stressing for being 3 months into a bulk and not have made like insane progress. Everything aside that I said about the transformations you see, there's also lighting can make things look very different. The angles photos are taken at can make things look very different. The clothes that people are wearing can make things look very different. The poses that people are making can make that people are doing can make a transformation look a lot more dramatic than it actually is. And that's not to take away from people's hard work. It's just to tell you guys to take the things that you're seeing on social media, especially in those short time frames with insane amounts of growth, with a pinch of salt, because it's not like that for the majority. I'm telling you, I've worked with a lot of women. It's not like that for the majority. You're looking at committing to this 6 months minimum. I would say give yourself another 3 months and let me know. But if that was your question, please message me on Instagram, because I'd love to like check that we've got everything in order first, just to make sure that you are ticking the boxes that you need to be ticking to progress. But if you're doing all that, the only other thing you need to give yourself is a bit of time and a bit of patience. Okay, I think I'm gonna leave that little fitness Q&A here. I think this is gonna be probably my shortest video I've uploaded in a while, so love that for us. If you want me to do more like sat down fitness Q&As, let me know, because I feel like it's easier to get a more in-depth answer across doing it this way than always doing it on Instagram. If you've got any questions about anything I've said, leave them down below. Anything I've mentioned throughout that you want to add your 2 cents, leave it below. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, because it massively, massively, massively helps me out. Subscribe if you want to and you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Happy Christmas, by the way, because I think this is going to be my last video before Christmas. So Merry Christmas and a very, very, very Happy New Year. Yeah.